Hey, what is going on, everybody? You already know. It is Thursday. It's 6 p.m. It is time. It's Out of the Box NFL Football Chat. My name is Paul Spencer, and of course, I'm with that man right there, Dan O'Connor. Dan, how you doing, brother?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good, man. Just getting ready for free agents starting up. People are getting released left and right by some teams, and so there's a lot of interesting stuff in this next week here. But today we're talking about the AFC East and each team, their needs, their free agency options, their outlook, and what they're going to do in the draft. So
Yeah,
should be a good show.
this week AFC East. Last week we covered the NFC North there, so the Bears were on the clock. This week we got number 3 here, the Patriots on the clock. But Dan, you're right. This division, 2 teams made the playoffs last year. Of course, Buffalo and Miami played this, in the playoffs here. Let's talk about last year first, Dan. Is there a team that you look at in this division here that underachieved versus overachieved? Let's start with the Miami Dolphins first and sit there right there. Do you think what grade do you give them from last year? Expectation-wise.
I'd say they underachieved, but unfortunately for them, they had a lot of injuries on like half their defense.
True.
But I would say that Miami probably underachieved, especially in the playoffs. But with the injuries they had, that's tough. I thought they were good during the season, but obviously they still need some work.
I agree. I mean, their defense had a lot of injuries. Using Phillips for the whole season. Well, after back half of the season, of course.
They lost their linebackers. They lost a corner. Like
Ramsey was out. Xavier Rhodes was out for a while too. So their starting safeties were both out, and the corners were out too. But going there, their defense actually is in the top 3 in the NFL. Dan,
their defense is good when healthy. Their defense is solid.
Exactly.
I'd say they need more work on the offensive side. I think they need a little bit better offensive line. They obviously have a running game, but I don't know. I haven't looked at who they've released yet and stuff like that. But they have a lot of stuff they could probably address in the draft, but probably see more on the offensive side than the defensive side. But just for their offensive line, especially, then everything else, maybe adding another pass rusher will help them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they don't need any weapons on the offensive side of the ball. I think they need to protect Tua. Tua. We've seen when he came from Alabama into the NFL, he was a running quarterback, liked to run, learned his lesson the hard way, Dan. I hate saying that, but he learned his lesson the hard way not to run anymore. So you got to give the guy, that blind side help, that strong side help. You got to build this offensive line because, Danny, we know in the NFL, man, any quarterback can sit back there for 3 seconds and pinpoint a ball anywhere. But he has the weapons, of course. We know that. They just got to give him time, Dan. So what kind of grade do you give him? Underachieving, yes, in the playoffs, I get that. But if
I'd say a B.
I give him a B too. I agree. I give him a B. Yep.
Definitely not a C because they were a good team when they were healthy. But like I said, especially in the playoffs, they really couldn't protect their quarterback. So offensive line might be one of the things they address. They can go a number of directions. They have a lot of needs. In some areas. So.
Yep. Hopefully they can beat the Buffalo Bills this year. Going into that last game of the season there, it's like, you know what? Pick your poison. What do we do here? Can't beat your division rivals. So, but
if they were healthy, I think they had a better chance.
So. I agree. I mean, Tyreek Hill's limping in that game too. He's coming off that injury as well too.
Yep.
Speed kills, but when you don't have to speed the wheels there, you got to find a different way. And
one wheel is broken, it's not going to work. Or a flat tire or something. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you mentioned the running backs. I mean, Mostert, A-Chain, great running backs, and Wilson as well. 3-headed dragon there. But, when you take away Tyreek Hill, just like we talked about, you take away
changes your whole offense.
It definitely does. Yep. So let's go into the other rival here. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Dan, talk about all in last year versus salary cap, which we'll get into, of course. But, Dan, I mean, what happened to them? I mean, Dan, this is like the Jim Kelly days. You can get to the high point, but you can't get over that mountain again.
Yeah, they just can't get over that mountain, and they just can't, and they still can't beat the Chiefs. They just can't do it. That's the thing about them. The Bills are solid. They had a really good, better second half than first half. They really had to play well going in. They had to do a lot, but I mean, I'd probably give them like a B plus. I mean, they made the playoffs, but I think that's probably the team that underachieved the most in the whole division because the Bills went all in, and now they're like you said, now they're in a totally different situation now.
Yeah, it's like you eat filet mignon one day, and the next day you're in cup of noodles. That's what the Buffalo Bills are doing this year in the salary cap, Dan, which we'll talk about, of course. But the one thing I want to say about Buffalo, I give them a B. I don't give them the B plus because. When you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, Dan, he's a pinnacle quarterback. He's a franchise QB.
Yeah.
But, Dan, we see glimpses and glamours, man. As we talk during the NFL, pick'em shows during the season, 1 week he looks good, but next week he's forcing that ball downfield to lose games, Dan.
Exactly like in the playoffs. In the last 2 or 3 drives in that game, he was bad. Remember, he was trying. They were trying to force it. Remember, they had like a minute. They had like a minute and a half, like just under 2 minutes or something like that. And then they kind of forced it. They didn't methodically work downfield. Remember, there were some situations where I think where they went for a 4th down and shouldn't have. I think they missed an extra point or a field goal. And there was some, but Josh Allen did not come through in the end, and they had a perfect opportunity to win that game in the last couple of minutes, and they just Josh Allen they just forced it. I thought he was forcing it. He was inaccurate. Missed Diggs wide open.
Yeah,
and he's got to prove that he could step up in the clutch in those moments because he shows flashes. But I don't like the way he played in the last couple of drives in that game. The playoffs.
I mean, the one positive I will say, what negative, just as you mentioned there, forcing the ball downfield into that triple coverage pass for that pickoff to lose the game there. But the one thing I will say positive, Brady being the OC, he really made Josh Allen a little bit different toward the end of the season.
Once they put him as OC, they fired their offensive coordinator. Their offense improved. So it seems like you have the right OC in there, but now it's just the key big moments of the game at the end that they just can't seem to. Josh Allen just seems to not be able to get over that hurdle. Not saying he can't, but that's kind of the knock on them. And I think for the Bills, they expect to do a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
In this playoffs.
Exactly. Eileen checking in. Hey, Eileen, how's it going? Eileen has a great comment here, which we will definitely talk about, Dan, once we get into, players released, players signed here. Bills have a quarterback contract from Mitch Trubisky, which we will talk about that in a second here, Dan, coming up here.
Yeah.
But, I agree with 100% what you said here, but they lost a lot of pieces this year, Dan, which we'll get into, of course. The Buffalo Bills here.
They're losing them left and right, and they're still over the cap.
Yeah, big time, Dan. I mean, you go from, just like I said, filet mignon to cup of noodles for the next year here. So they're going to have to build through the draft and free agency. But free agency is going to be kind of hard because good players are getting released, and they can't afford these players, Dan. You know what I mean?
There's unless they cut someone significantly, trade someone significantly.
Well, they've been trying to release players to get under that cap.
They're going to have trouble just getting enough space to sign their draft picks. So they have 12 draft picks.
And you figure each one being a $3 million deal, so you're probably going to be around 15 to 20 million just for your rookie deals, Dan. And you don't even have that money right now. You don't have that money.
10 million minimum.
Exactly.
They're all very high picks. They have 28, 60, and 99. The rest will be easy. But like I said, for them, it's tough. They have to release a lot of really, really good players. And I don't know if they're going to be the same because of that.
Well, we'll talk about the releases and the signings. I mean, giving a little hint here, fast forward a little bit, but they gave away 2 of their best defensive players already, and that didn't help them out. But let's move on to the New England Patriots here, Dan.
Yep.
Wow. What, Dan? I mean, going from the dynasty days of Belichick, Tom Brady, and we're sitting here talking about the Patriots number 3 in the draft, Dan.
Yeah. They have play options. They have a ton of cap space.
Yes.
Like we'll talk about the Patriots when we get to each team here, but we're just giving you a general grade. And I think they're they had no quarterback, but their defense is not bad, but their offense is what they're going to address in this draft. Quarterback, offensive line, wide receiver. You really want to fill a quarterback position, fill your offensive line need. And fill your weapons need. They could do all 3 in the draft. They have plenty of cap space to go after whoever they want.
Agreed.
So, I think, at sooner or later it's going to happen, but I think they're in a really good position right now. They could, a number about to go, probably quarterback at 3, but we'll talk about that. They could take offensive tackle. They could fill immediate need right away.
Yeah,
cap space they have, I think they're in a good spot.
Yeah, it's 3 years ago, Dan, when Mac Jones came, I'm like, this guy could be solid under the Belichick tree here, learning the philosophy. But, Dan, there's a difference to me. I don't know how you feel about this, but when they had Tom Brady, they went out and got veteran O-linemen to protect Tom Brady. When Mac Jones came in, it was just like, you know what? Okay, we don't really care. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I mean about that. That to me was like, okay, there's a different philosophy there, but the new head coach Mayo coming in here, he's going to build that offensive side of the ball. And we know the Patriots usually go defense, Dan. This year, I think they go offense because if they take the quarterback number 3, Drake May, Caleb, whoever it may be, I think you start with there because to me, Dan, it is a 3 to 5 year window, a rebuilding process, something we really don't say about the Patriots, though.
Absolutely, and they're typically not in that position. Payne says, F the Patriots, that's my grade.
Yeah, not even an F plus insane.
They probably get an F or a D minus, like a D minus, like it's somewhere right around there. But you have to realize they have no weapons, no offensive line, no quarterback. How you winning like that? You ain't winning like that. So
exactly, yeah. I don't care who you have a quarterback. Yeah, I mean the only thing I can say, Dan, which we'll get into draft, of course, but to me, if they don't go offensive line here or protect, get that quarterback, go O-line. They have to, of course. But if they don't solidify that offensive line there, something's going to be, whoever the quarterback's going to be, you might be running for your life again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if they take quarterback, they better take offensive line. But they could also do something like take offensive line 3 and wait for a quarterback. They could also trade. I don't know. It all depends. Like it's risky, but that offensive line is so important for whoever you bring in there. You can't bring in your quarterback, but I assume they're going to sign some offensive linemen through the free agency. They're going to try and fill a couple holes.
Hey, they got money. They got money, Dan. $88 million is a lot of hell of a money to play with. So they got that right there. So let's go into the other team here, Dan. Let's talk about week 1. Aaron Rodgers goes into the game. What, 3rd play of the game? He's out. Dan, that right there set the season for the New York Jets Foundation and their fans right there.
Oh, that was it. As soon as they had no quarterback, they'd probably make the playoffs. Their defense was a top defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they need an offensive line, and I think that is what they're going to draft at 10. No matter who's there, but I think that's going to be their first pick. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would cut ties with Zach Wilson entirely.
Eileen checks this says, damn it, Paul, we were trying to forget that. Listen, I'm not a Jets fan, Eileen. I know you bleed that color green, but it's still in my mind. I mean, I cried that day because I'm a fan of the game first, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, but the Jets could take offensive tackle, but they could cut Wilson and take a quarterback if they wanted. But I don't know if they would do that. Rodgers is old.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, Dan. I did write down something here, which we'll talk about, in a little bit here regarding that. Remind me of that. Zach Wilson is only $1.5 million this year, Dan.
I get that. I understand.
But, Dan, is he really a backup? He is a backup quarterback, but do we really call him a backup quarterback where nobody wants him even holding the clipboard?
If Rodgers gets hurt, they're screwed.
There's a name I want to bring up a little bit later on the show. Remind me of that, Dan. I definitely want to talk about that.
I think I already know who you're talking about. I was mentioning it before to a Patriots fan. I was talking about it before.
I think we're on the same page.
Yep. It's a cheap option.
I think it is too. I think you read my mind on that one.
Makes a lot of sense. So.
It is. If their first pick ain't an offensive line, there is 3 offensive linemen there, Dan. You got Fanchua and you got the guy from Oregon State as well. Those guys are plug and play players. I think that's a great
exactly. I think Fanchua has a great shot to go at 10.
I agree. And after the workout, Dan, let's talk about the combine a little bit. But Dan, real quick, what grade do you give the New England Patriots for the overall, or the New York Jets this year?
Last year,
taking in the fact that they lost Aaron Rodgers, 3rd play of the year.
I'm gonna say a B, and the reason is their defense was so good, and their run game is really good. The missing piece for them was a quarterback. I don't know what you expect them to do with Simeon and Wilson and but the thing that really, I think the thing they totally failed at.
Mm-hmm.
They could have signed a Flacco. They could have went out and gotten it. They could have done something that's better than Wilson, that's better than Simeon. You know what I'm saying? They could, because there were options out there for them, even though it's not the best option.
Mm-hmm.
There was an option for them to make a move. They could have just done something, I think, and they decided to do nothing.
I agree. I mean, the defense was elite this year. Sauce Gardner on the side. He was like an island going back to Jarrell.
What's his name was really good. Trumaine Johnson was
Johnson, yes. Mm-hmm.
Really good for them. Like they were a solid defensive unit. So the problem is their offense. They fix their offense, they're a playoff team.
And that's a great point, Dan. Thinking about that before we go into the next subject here. If they would have signed someone that veteran QB, then I always use the word all they needed this year was a game manager with that defense, a
Just
game
an
manager quarterback. You know,
average, consistent quarterback. Nothing mind blowing, nothing crazy, like a
Mhm.
Joe Flacco. It gives you a little bit of consistency there, even though he's older. But
Agreed.
they have no offensive line. He might have gotten killed too. So
Agree, 100%. I mean, Zach Wilson's not the answer, of course. You know, Simeon's just he's a journeyman for a
no,
reason, Dan. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. But Fantasy Girl advice checks in. Howdy, y'all. Hey, how you doing? Reach out to me. I've been waiting for you to reach out to me. We got a couple things to talk about. Trying to get you on the network here pretty soon. You know, great things heard about you. So
yeah.
message me definitely. But Dan, let's get into this season here. Let's talk about a little bit of the draft combine, Dan. I mean, what did you see this year? What did you see?
To be honest, I didn't watch a lot of workouts, but
Mhm.
I think Bo Nix looked good. McCarthy looked good. A couple, I don't think some of the other quarterbacks, Xavier Worthy, upped his draft stock.
Whew,
There's a lot of talented offensive linemen, man.
there
A lot
is.
of fat, like with speed, with quickness.
Yeah.
The wide receiver is also a really, really deep. Especially with a lot of good players in the combine. So like I said, you can ever see everyone throw, but to be honest, I didn't see a lot of the combine. I'm more watched them during the season, during college
Mhm.
football,
Mhm.
during the actual games.
Right.
But obviously there are guys that are going to shoot up the draft board and solidify their stock and raise their stock or lower it. And
Mhm.
depending on a lot of their interviews go, supposedly JJ McCarthy interviewed great. So
He did.
that's really like a big thing, especially for the quarterback position,
Mhm.
any position. If you interview great, especially in certain positions, you can really help yourself, and that's why I think players should go to the combine and not forego it.
Agreed. I mean, we always talk about that test called the Wonderlic test. I've always wanted to see what it actually. I'm trying to get a copy of it somehow to see
Yep.
what's on that test there. But when you perform that way, it goes a long way with the quarterbacks. I like to see
Yeah.
how they perform in game situations. I like watching like the Under Armour game, the senior
Yeah.
All American game. I like watching that, even though the rules have changed. Dan, no stunts, no twists, no blitzing. I
But
get all
it
that,
gives
but
you a little bit of example how they play in some
exactly.
kind of a game situation,
Mhm.
even though the rules are a little different. But you want to see them throw. You want to see them put the ball accurately, especially the quarterbacks. You want to see good technique, good footwork, good
Mhm.
hand placement by the defensive linemen, especially the tackles and the offensive linemen,
Yeah.
because your punch is so important in that, especially on both sides.
Mhm.
And you just did a chance to see talent versus talent. It's not the best gauge, and then you have the pro days, which are later on, which will help a great deal as well.
Agreed. Fantasy brings up a name here. She misspelled the name. It's Joe Milton from Tennessee, the quarterback. Dan, this guy,
He's
I
got
mean,
a rocket arm. That's the thing about it. He's got a hell
yes.
of an arm,
And I,
cannon.
I tell you, Dan, he was at Alabama for a while down there. Then he went to,
Yes, he was.
he was
Yes,
down there. He wasn't really named a throwing quarterback. He's always been named that running back. But 6'4", 230, Dan, this guy's
he's got
built like
that
a
prototypical
linebacker.
size.
Mhm.
That's what you want a quarterback. He's tall.
Mhm.
He's 230. That's the perfect prototypical size for. He's got a cannon arm. I don't know about his accuracy,
Mhm.
but his arm he's got a really good arm, and that raises your stock and goes a long way
Yeah.
because he can make throws other guys probably can't make.
Yeah, I wish he would have stayed one more year, honestly, because you remember you had Hooker
I
out there at
agree.
Tennessee. You had Hooker being that Hendon Hooker coming off the injury,
Uh-huh.
and really Milton only had one really year to shine after Hooker came in. I
Yeah,
wish he would have
exactly.
stayed one more year to get that more seasoned look coming into the NFL. Because
Hmm.
Dan, this year, listen, Joe Milton is probably not going to be a top 6 quarterback. Right now, I would have stayed next year and said, you know what, let me build my stock one more year, and I can come out a little bit more seasoned to be in maybe the top 3 to top 4.
Yeah, it's someone you could pick later in the draft, like the third round,
Mhm.
and develop him. Like he has talent.
Right.
So if you have a quarterback already and you could take him, and you want to develop a guy, your quarterback's going to be leaving, or you don't
Mhm.
trust your quarterback. Maybe for some teams it might make sense.
Definitely, definitely. Eileen says, "Can't wait to see Fantasy Girl on the network. Hopefully, hopefully you join us. Hopefully, we're something that you want to do. We want you to come here." And she's Fantasy Girl says, "You two stars. That would be the combo right there. Eileen and Fantasy Girl. There we go. That's the new show on the Box Sports Entertainment. We need it. We want it. We got to have it. So there we go. It's set in stone. Contracts will be written. Contracts will be shipped out to both of you. But Dan, let's talk about Xavier Worthy. Dan, speed kills. Speed boosts you
Yeah,
up in the draft. Dan.
absolutely. I don't know about like his rubber in his hands, but I know that he's got really great speed, a lot of talent. but I'd like to see who he goes to, because it all depends on how a team's going to use him. But he's a great talent. I don't think he'll go real early, but he's definitely a wide receiver to look at, and definitely raised his stock for sure, because he's so fast. I just don't know much about his hands and his route running, but that's something you could always work on.
Well, last year, Dan, we do the college show, College Football Frenzy, myself and Bill every Wednesday night, coming back in a couple of weeks here. But we talked about Xavier Worthy last year, playing at Texas there. The way his hands are, Dave, he has Dan, he has a Charmin for tissue hands. He can catch anything out there.
As far as great hands, hand speed, you can work on the route running.
Exactly. I mean, your tree can, that you can work on your tree there from college to NFL. That's something you can work on. Hands, you can't work on. This guy is, if he would have came out last year, Dan, I know, and Jacob Smith, Jackson Smith came out last year. Receivers like that came out. But I think he would have been a top 8 wide receiver coming out last year. I think staying one more year helped him out too. And you know what? This offense with Texas having Brock Ewers out there throwing the ball the way he did, he's a burner, Dan. And the one team, we did a draft last week, Dan. I hate saying this because they don't need weapons. They do and they don't. I think he goes to Kansas City, Dan, with that speed at wide receiver.
Oh man, that if he is there, that'd be a smart pick for them. That's kind of what they need as well.
Big time.
That'd be a great pick for them, because all real good ones will be gone. But that I think that would be pretty dangerous.
And the thing is, out there, Dan, they take any wide receiver and make them into something special. You know that. And Xavier Worthy is something special, but just imagine if they get their hands on him.
Besides Kadarius Toney, but
yeah, that's another name. That's the opposite of what we're talking about here, Dan. You know firsthand about that, dude.
I'm glad we don't have him anymore. But
exactly
that's
right.
A different story. But that's a big need for them.
Exactly.
Like wide receiver could be something they pick in the first round. I could see that.
Now, Dan, I want to ask you. Speaking of Xavier Worthy here, I'll go back to a guy. I hate saying this. I really hate saying this. Byron Jones. You remember him from Dallas Cowboys?
Yes.
He was a 3rd round pick, Dan. Broke the world record in the broad jump at the NFL Combine, okay? Just because of that, his draft went all the way up. How far do you see Xavier Worthy's product go up running a 4.21?
I think it goes up more.
I agree.
Because you can have a broad jump, but what has Byron Jones done?
Not a damn thing.
So I don't care about your broad jump. I care about your cutting ability, your speed, and your route running, and your route running, speed, and your hands. Hands and route running are the 2 key things. Because a guy with that speed, those 2 things make up for a lot. But I don't care how much your broad jump is. Your vertical, I think, matters more than your broad jump does. So you're not going to be jumping 12 feet.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. Joe Sullivan, you can check him out every Monday night, 6 p.m. They have a great guest on this week.
What's up, Joe?
Yep, they have a great guest on this week. Bill Meltzer, the NHL hockey analyst, will be from the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll be jumping on them. He says AFC East is an interesting division. Worthy could be the Deshaun Jackson 2.0. That's true. I mean, speed-wise, we always talk
I'd say more Tyreek Hill 2.0.
Ooh, that's a big name to drop there, Dan.
Because they're both so fast. That's why. That's all. They both have similar speed.
Okay. Eileen brings a question: is Rome Odunze Washington worth a high pick? I think he's gone in the top 10.
He's a top 10 pick without a doubt. Odunze without a doubt, I think.
I mean, you have your wide receivers out there. Of course, Harrison Jr.,
Malik Neighbors. Those 3 guys are probably the best 3.
They're great.
And I like Neighbors. I like Harrison Jr. with Neighbors is good, man. Physical, good wide receiver.
Yep. Joe says, would they be a great play for the Jets there? I think they have to go offensive line first, because you got to keep, especially coming off that ACL with Rodgers, you got to keep him upright. But man, if they can somehow
later in the draft, if he's there, 2nd round, if he's there, that'd be a steal.
Team him up with Garrett Wilson. Good God,
it'd be a steal. It'd be a steal for them. And later in the draft is probably where you're looking for wide receiver for the Jets. O-line at 10 makes perfect sense. That's like when we go over, like I did a full mock draft for every team. And for the Jets, I did 2 offensive linemen right off the bat, first 2 rounds.
Agree. I definitely see that sitting where they're at, they have to go offensive line here. Like I said, there's 3 offensive line that I like. Yep. Here's one too. Jets could go Brock Bowers too. I mean, I think Bowers actually goes. I forgot where I put him last week, Dan. I think he actually goes to I want to say like a San Diego team or something like that.
He's not going to go at 5.
No, he's not going to go 5, but I think he goes
late first round, early second.
I think he's going to be mid 15, Dan. I mean, last year, Dan, we talked about this. If he comes out last year, he could probably be a top 10 pick. The only thing that set him back this year was that injury. That injury that
obviously. Bowers was healthy. Georgia's probably a different team offensively. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they won the games that he was out, but still, he wasn't 100% going into that conference championship against Alabama.
When he's 100%, they're different.
Agree. Bengals. Joe has Bengals with Bowers at 18. That's a possibility. I mean,
that'd be a good pick for them.
I mean, imagine that. Jamar Chase, Burrows, if he's healthy, with the proper O line, mix it at the running back here, and you get a tight end like Bowers. That could be something scary too. You know what I mean? Yep. He's scary in Cincinnati. I agree with that 100%. Eileen says, "I'd be so mad if the Jets waste their first pick on time." No, I can't see that. No way.
I mean, it's going to be an offensive lineman.
I know. I don't think they could, Dan. But
if someone fell, depending on who fell there, it depends. Like if a Neighbors fell or a Douzier was there.
Well, you're meaning at 10. If he falls to 10,
yeah, you have to pick that guy. But I think they're going to offensive line. I think one will be there for them. It's their biggest need, probably.
Okay.
Tackle.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, we got Joe Alt, we got Fanshawe, we got the guy from Oregon State. Out there. His name, I don't want to butcher his name. I don't want to disrespect him. But let's just say if Malik Neighbors Rome drops to the Jets position, with the Oregon State offensive lineman on the board here, what do you take? What do you take there? I mean, do you go with the best available that you plug and play you need to protect Aaron Rodgers, or do you say, you know what, Rodgers is Rodgers? We can get him another weapon and score.
I'm going to say it depends on what player is there. If the Penn State tackle is there, you take him.
Fanshawe, okay.
Alt will probably be gone.
Alt is the key person this draft. If the Bears take him or something like that, they shock the world. This draft is going to be a little bit different haywire, Dan.
But Joe Alt, he could go top 3. He could go.
He could drop 2
to us. He could go later. It all depends on what the teams are doing in front. Because remember, are one of the teams going to trade down? The Patriots are going to pull something and trade down if the 2 quarterbacks get taken they like. Like the third guy. Will they there's a lot of there's a lot of things. Will the Jets trade up to get a tackle? Like a couple of spots. It's. We're going to go over the draft like I did a mock draft for all of them, but it's going to be very interesting depending on what happens at the top of the draft.
Agree. We'll see. And we talked about last week, Dan, the Bears control this draft here. I mean, if they shock the world, go Marvin Harrison number 1. They go Joe Alt number 1. If they go Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison number 1 there, Dan,
that throws a wrench in everything.
Teams are going to be calling that 4th spot and saying, hey, what can I give you to move up? Because I want that 3rd quarterback. I want that
4th spot is key. I think Washington, think is going to take a quarterback, but I don't know.
We don't even know.
I don't know are they going to take a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Are they going to take a Joe Alt? Are they going to do something we don't expect? I really can't say. I don't know what they're going to do.
This is the first year, really. The only team in the top 3 that I think is really going to 100% take a quarterback is going to be the Patriots.
The Patriots.
Number 1, I don't know if the Bears are, sold on Justin Fields. I don't know. What do they do?
Patriots are taking a quarterback unless the 2 they like go. If a quarterback doesn't go 1, they'll definitely take a quarterback with no doubt in my mind.
Gotcha.
But in my mock draft, I didn't do that, and we'll go over that when we go over each team.
Definitely.
And it's a risk, but I think it's a possibility. So
Gotcha. Dan, if you could bring up the comments, my eyes actually starting to hurt again.
Yep, hold on, what's it?
Yeah, I apologize, everybody. My eyes, I'm probably going to have surgery next week, so we'll see what's going on with my left eye.
Joseph said,
go ahead.
This draft is deep at O-line, so if you think Bowers is a Kelsey tight end, you can get value in the 2nd or 3rd round of O-line. Yeah, there's a lot of good offensive linemen in the draft. I took an offensive lineman with their Jets 2nd pick in the mock I did.
But Dan, regarding that question there, with Brock Bowers, I mean, we know Kelsey is a very good run blocking tight end who can scheme wise, first, second, mid level, deep level. Bowers is more of the hybrid tight end. If you're looking to help like a chip block, I don't think Bowers is the solution there. Because he plays on that wide side of the field mostly. He doesn't play that wide much.
We're talking about the Jets, right?
Right.
The way you're protecting quarterback, you're taking an offensive lineman. That's why I think Bowers is intriguing, but they need a lot more than a tight end. They have way bigger needs. You can get a really good player at 10 to fill in immediate need. You can get a tight end later if you want.
Sure.
To be honest,
yeah.
I don't think that's something that they should even be thinking about at 10.
Okay.
I heard another comment. Some scouts said there'll be O-line going rounds too. There's a lot of good offensive linemen.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Especially interior offensive linemen. There's a lot of good players. Offensive linemen. It's a very deep draft. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I was joking around with my buddy. We were doing this last night, actually. We were talking about some offensive linemen, give them grades and stuff like that. I have 16 players that can go possibly round 1, Dan, in the offensive line category.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's another comment. Bears take Marvin Harrison at 9. No way.
Wow. Wait.
Does she mean take a QB or Rome Oduzia? Is that what she means?
I think so. Well, let's talk about that real quick, Dan. Let's talk about that. Bears, let's just say, I said if they shock the world and go number 1, they go Marvin Harrison. They take that best player. To me, he's the best player available, Dan.
They can really a tackle at 9.
That's what I mean, because you think about this, there's still, even if I don't think they go 2 wide receivers, because then you know what? Then you're putting all chips in on Justin Fields. And we know his bugaboo, I don't throw the ball great. I run the ball, but I don't throw the ball great. You know what I mean? I can't see it. I can see Marvin Harrison going 1, maybe best available O-line 2, or, Dan, Brock Bowers comes into play at 9.
For them, it might make sense. Like, they could go offensive tackle, and then they could take a weapon at 9. It says Joseph would say O-line at 10 for the Jets, so I think it makes perfect sense.
I agree. I think you
have the Bears are in a great situation. They could,
of course.
They could go a number of ways. They could say they like J.J. McCarthy. Say they like him.
Wait, the Bears? The Bears?
I'm just saying.
Dan, what is the difference between Justin Fields and J.J. McCarthy? They can't throw the ball. They run the ball.
He has more talent than Fields. So I'm just using an example.
I know. I'm joking with you.
How about the guy from LSU? I can't remember his name. What if, like Daniels? I'm just saying,
Jaden Daniels?
Depends on who's at 9. You can address both each way if you really wanted to, but I don't know what they're going to do. If they want a quarterback, they'll have faith in Fields, they'll take quarterback. But I don't know what they're going to do. But we'll talk about that some other time, because we're talking about more of the AFC East today. But I don't know what they're going to do. That will determine a lot what happens later on in the top 10.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? Let's get into the division here. We already talked about a half hour of the show, talking about the combine and stuff like that. How about we talk about these Buffalo Bills here, Dan? Now, Dan, like I said, I like to eat, man. I like filet mignon every day possible. I can't afford it, but I love to eat it every day. They've been eating it for the last couple of years here, every day on the clock. Now, Dan, they went from salary cap heaven to minus $9 million in a salary cap. And Dan, that's actually letting Paul go, Justin Poyd, and Tre'Davious White go today too, a couple of days ago. That still, they're in the negative at negative $9 million, Dave.
Joe Sullivan says, what do you guys think of Buffalo? They missed their window. Like I said,
now they're paying for it. Now they're paying for it.
Now they're paying for it, and that's why I said they were one of the most underachieving teams in the whole NFL.
Big time.
Especially in the AFC, especially, they finished strong, but Josh Allen did not play well, and this was their year. They had the Kansas City at home. They lost to Kansas City, and they just didn't look good at the end of that game, and that's like a heartbreaking thing. And now they're in big time trouble, and like I said, I'll look in a couple of minutes. I'll read about the draft, but they have like 12 draft picks. That's what they're going to address a lot.
Yeah,
they're going to have to cut more people. They're going to have to cut another really good quality player to free up cap space for their draft picks, because they're still $9 million over the cap.
Exactly. So, that's the thing. Going back to like missing the window there, man. I go back to when Jim Kelly played there, 4 Super Bowls in a row. Dallas got him 3 years. There.
That's your window.
Yeah. To me, that was the window. To me, there's 2 teams, and I like how you said that overachieving here, underachieving. Yeah. To me, in the AFC, it's the Buffalo Bills. In the NFC, it's Dallas. Those 2 teams on paper have the roster, 53-man roster, and you can't get over any kind of hump. You can't even get over Wednesday's hump day. You know what I mean?
I don't know, like the Jets, I agree. What's going on, Stacey?
Hey, Stace.
But I agree. Like that, like they're going to be a much different team, especially on the defensive end.
Agree.
I'm not saying they're going to be bad,
Mm-hmm.
but this was a year they really needed to.
Yep.
To if they could have beaten the Chiefs, they might have had a shot, but they just can't. They just can't beat them. They just can't beat them.
This comment here, I just seen it up there. I can read that one there. Joe Sutherland says Von Miller deal. That's one of the things where, Dan, you know, you can build to the draft. We know that what they're going to have to do this year. You know, rookie contracts. That's how they're going to build. But going with the veteran like Von Miller, that set him back so much on the pay rate there, Dan. And last year, being out the way he was out, like 13 games last year with like 4 tackles the entire season, getting that big salary. And I think I put on Out of the Box, and it was like what? $1.4 million for each tackle that he had last year. Insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's, you know, like I said, they're going to have to really address things in the draft. And I don't know how the Bills are going to be. Right. And it sucks for them and their fan base that they really had an opportunity last year. And they just couldn't take advantage of it. It's just very disappointing for them.
Yep. Well, I mean, they got rid of Justin Poyer, okay? They got rid of Tavarius White, a couple of days ago. They just released Nahum Hines, the running back. He wasn't really a process, big target. They got rid of the starting center, Mitch Morris, today, too. Actually, yesterday, too. Another guy they got rid of. Now they still have these guys, and I'm just going to go over the list here. Gabe Davis, a vital part of that offense. Wide receiver, Gabe Davis. Micah Hyde, starting safety. He's on the list.
Poyer's the other safety.
Exactly. So you might possibly lose both safeties here because you can't pay them. You don't have the money to pay them. Okay.
And White.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And Darius White's gone. Now the other running back is who's the other running back? Is it who's the running back? James Cook. I think he has 2 years left on his contract too. They're signed there. But Latavius Murray, he's like $1 million a year too. They're going to release him.
I release him. I could do it in the draft. Get a running back in the draft. That's what I did. I'll read the draft. But keep going.
But I mean, the other ones are going to be Shaq Lawson, the defensive end, who's arguably one of the good ones out there too. He's on the free agent market too. Tyler Makovich, he's a linebacker from Temple University. Watched him play before. Good guy. I mean, strong guy, but not on the right team. Basically, he has ways. But what do you see, Dan? I mean, what can they do? I mean, if they are these guys here that I mentioned, who can they release? I mean, you can't release Micah Hyde because you lost Traverius White already, Dan, and Jordan Poe. Cool.
I don't know. They're going to have to cut other players somewhere. Like I said, I think it's they're $9 million. It's going to take one more quality player to get rid of, or they're going to have to restructure a couple of their key guys and lower that cap and push money down the road.
Can you see Josh Allen pushing back this contract and back into it? No, I don't.
No, but like I'm saying, they have to get drastic. Is all I'm saying. Like they're in a really tough spot. I just don't know. But like I said, I did a full mock draft for them, and I had no idea what to do.
So well, they're at 28. They're at 28, Dan. What do you think of 28? I mean, a lot of holes.
I went with wide receiver. I went Keon Coleman from Florida State at 28.
That's a smart pick. I mean, you can key him with Diggs out there. I think that would be perfectly fine.
Yep.
I kind of like that pick. I like Keon Coleman out of Florida State.
And it's not too early. It's a 28. It's a big time need for them, especially if they're going to get rid of Davis. You put him with Diggs. He's more of a physical guy. And then they're pick 60 at Kareem Kitchens, safety from Miami.
Very smart. Very smart. I mean, you're plugging players in that you got rid of, so you have to plug those in first.
Exactly. And Kitchens is one of the better safeties in the whole draft.
Yeah, he's a ball hawk. I like how he plays.
Yeah, he's a little raw. He's physical though, and I like him. I think it's a good pick. Then with 99, I went Jeremiah Trotter Jr., linebacker from Clemson.
Where did he play at St. Joe's Prep, I believe, didn't he? He did, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I guess he did. You would know that.
Yes, I did.
And then at 129, I went Zach Center, interior offensive lineman from Michigan.
Can't go wrong with a Michigan O-line this year, Dan. You cannot go wrong there.
Yeah, like I think I took another Michigan offensive lineman for one of the other teams here. Then I went Jalen White, running back, Tennessee. Just addressing I think they need another running back.
Okay.
Then I went best player. I went Chad Smith Wade, quarterback, Washington State. I have no idea who was the best player available.
I couldn't, as much college as I watched, I can't tell you half these players.
Jeremiah Bell, I've actually seen on Florida State. He's a good tight end for them. I took an offensive tackle from Washington. I think he's Rosengarten, the other tackle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I took Cedric Johnson, edge from Mississippi at 202.
Gotcha.
I took Gabe Hall, defensive lineman from Baylor.
Okay.
And I took Austin McNamara, punter from Texas Tech.
Hey, you got to give the punter some loves out there. You know what I mean? You got to get a punter on every team. Every team. That's one thing, Dan. Every team should have to draft either a
There's so
long
many
snapper or
picks.
somebody out there. You know what I mean? But
But the first 3 picks, wide receiver, safety, and linebacker,
mhm.
I think that's 3 things they'll need, especially the first 2.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, we know they're not going to take a running back. They have James Cook locked up for another 2 years. You're in hell with Josh.
That's a late pick if they took it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some running backs, and you know running backs are not in the market now, Dan. Even with this franchise tag, they don't even want that.
No.
So they are a dime a dozen. They can go into the 4th round
No.
and get a solid running back there. But let's move on to another team that was in the AFC, conference, not the conference, but the championships here pretty much. Miami Dolphins, Dan. I mean, they're sitting at $20 million in cap space this year. They just signed Jonnu Smith to a 2-year, $10 million contract as tight end. More weapons for Tua. But Dan, let's talk about some, not really a lot of free agents for them as well. Eli Apple, okay, the chosen one. Robbie Moore is a free agent. Chase Claypool, there's 3 wide receivers and a corner there. The one that I actually like is Braxton Berrios. He's a flying wide receiver.
I like Berrios. I think he's a solid player for them. You get Tariq Hill back. You have right back, but in the mock, I have no idea I don't know who they're going to pick at 21.
What do you think they need though? They're going to lose. They're going to lose Emmanuel Ogba, a defensive end, the strong defense end. That to me is where they're going to go because I don't know how Phillips is going to come back off that injury, Dan.
In the mock I did, you could show defensive edge. There'll be edge players. I took Jackson Powers Johnson, interior offensive lineman.
Where do you have Jared Verse going? So I think this could be a fit for them if he drops.
I think Jared Verse could definitely be an option for them if he drops. In the mock I did, I don't think he was there.
Yeah, I think I had him going earlier too.
But I think he'll go earlier at 21. But they need offensive lineman, period. So I don't know what they're gonna do though. Okay. I don't know what the Dolphins. I have no idea what they're gonna do. It's really a mystery to me. There could be a bunch of different players there at 21. Okay. Then they want Michael Hall Jr., defensive lineman, Ohio State. It's a need they have. Jamari Thrash, wide receiver, Louisville. Brevin Spanford, tight end for Minnesota. I don't know who these guys are to be honest. Like you're picking best player available, 186.
Yeah, after the 4th round, my mind tunes out, Dan. Honestly, after the 3rd and 4th round,
they don't have a lot of picks. They only have 6 draft picks.
I mean, they don't have a lot of holes to fill, though, Dan. Offensively, they're pretty sound.
They don't. I think maybe they'll take a tackle or something at 21. Maybe
well, you know what? I was just reading today that the free agent on the offensive line, the key guy is Connor Williams. He's a free agent center. They might not sign him because his contract's pretty stacked,
I went Jackson Powers Johnson, who's a center.
There you go. See, you did your homework on that one, Dan. You know, if you're out there in Miami Dolphins, listen, you better hire Dan.
I think it makes sense.
Yep.
Like that's what I said. I saw that, but center was one of their needs. So it was one of the better players there at 21.
Agree.
He's a solid offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Dan. I just think they have to go defense or O-line here. That's the only thing they can go here because the offense is stacked. Mostert, Wilson, agree with that. A-Chain, you have the wide receivers. Even if they lose one of the wide receivers, Cedric Wilson's who's a wide receiver as well.
You can take one in the draft at 55 if you want.
And you know what? You don't need your burner. You just go out best player available to fit the system.
How much cap space they have?
They are at $20 million this year, Dan.
That's not bad. So they could fill a couple of needs, but you're gonna need about half that or 2/3 of that for your draft.
Gotcha.
Well, maybe not because they're 21.55 to 157.
It's not going to cost a lot. It's not going to be a lot.
So maybe less than 10 million.
Yeah, it's not going to cost a lot being that low down. You're not going to get that option.
So we'll say half.
Exactly. So you can still really sign one franchise player. At $10 million a year. Maybe it's not going to be a big name, but who knows what they can sign out there? I mean, who knows? We'll see.
Maybe they'll take another weapon at 21, but offensive line is a bigger need for them.
I mean, one ball, 3 wide receivers, 1 ball. I don't know, Dan. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to say they're going to go offensive line.
I agree. I think they go edge number 1 because if they lose Phillips and also if Emmanuel's out this year, free agent's gone, they have to go defensive end, best available there. I think they do that. But we'll see. All right, let's move on to the Patriots here real quick here, Dan. $88 million in cap space, Dan.
That's really that's something that they could definitely address.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of money. And this is the guy you were talking about, Russell Wilson.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Thank you for bringing it up. Why, Dan? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this
Sign
right
up for
now.
$12 million. They're going to cover $80 million. I think for the Patriots,
yeah,
that's an intriguing option.
Glad you brought that back up. Glad you brought that back. I was talking to my buddy today about that.
And the reason I did my draft is because that's what I thought about. I thought about getting Russell Wilson, and the very first pick I took, which would be a great pick, I think, is Joe Alt from Notre Dame at 3.
Wow, you read my mind. I was talking to my buddy today. He was like, I was like, listen, what about Russell Wilson? $80 million they're paying for this quarterback. You can give him a $5 to $10 million
contract. And he was one of the better quarterbacks of all the NFL last year. In like how many games? Like 26 touchdowns in like less than half a season or something.
He has a lot of tread on those tires left, don't he?
He does, but if you could, like I went Joe Alt at 3, and then at 34 I went JJ McCarthy. If he was there, I think that would be, and you signed Russell Wilson. If you don't sign Russell Wilson, you're probably taking a quarterback at 3. But it's risky taking Alt at 3, but he's such a good player.
Alt could be number 1, Dan, honestly, on many boards.
He could go number 1 easily.
He could.
That's but I think, this is the draft I did. Joe Alt, JJ McCarthy.
Ooh, wow. Now, what number is that second pick, Dan? Where do they sit there?
34.
Okay, second and the third and first round. Okay.
Junior Colson, linebacker from Michigan.
Wow.
Trey Benson, running back from Florida State.
That's a big back. But your Zeke's a free agent, so you might have to expel that notion right there. So that would be
I would get rid of Zeke, to be honest.
I mean, it's cheap, Dan. He's $5 million. You don't want to sign him for $5 million?
But if they don't have another running back, Trey Benson would be. I know he's similar, but he's a rookie. Then I took Justin Ebogbe, I don't know how you say it, defensive lineman, Alabama.
Okay.
Evan Williams, safety from Oregon, and then Mason McCormick, interior offensive lineman, South Dakota State. But it's probably not going to be Joe Alt. It's probably going to be a quarterback, but he was there at 3, and it's a risky move, though, if you did that.
Gotcha. That's kind of a risky option. And I mean, if you think
but they also have a ton of cap space and have multiple options to fill needs, especially in the offensive. I don't know how many good wide receivers are out there. I mean, go sign T. Higgins.
No, he's got franchised.
Oh, well, never mind then. I forgot about that.
The Cincinnati franchised him, yeah.
But if there's a wide receiver, anything that can improve their offensive line, the defensive side of the ball doesn't need a lot of work. It's more their offensive side, their offensive line, their weapons, their cornerback. Jalen Johnson got paid, yeah.
Yeah, he got paid big time today. I mean, yeah, he definitely did. What's going on, Eddie? Hope you're feeling well, brother. Yeah, well, I mean, Kyle Duggar, their safety, is going to be a free agent this year, of course. Zeke's a free agent. You got Kendrick Bourne, a wide receiver. Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki's free agent. Jalen Reagor's. The other running back is Tyler Montgomery. Offensive line, Riley Reif. And another corner, Jalen Mills. Those are their free agents this year. Is there anybody that you think on that list that they have to bring back, Dan? They have the money to sign them in a lower-end contract here. But I think what they do is
what's the first couple of players you said?
You got Kyle Duggar, safety. You got Zeke, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Reagor, Ty Montgomery, running back, Riley Reif, offensive tackle, and Jalen Mills, corner.
Gesicki or Henry, if you're going to pick a tight end?
I think you have to, because you just lost a tight end as well. So I think you have to go there unless
everyone else. I mean, I don't know how good Bourne was or anybody else, but there's not a lot of guys that you would keep there. Just a few, to be honest. I'd say Bourne probably.
Yeah. Eddie says Tyler Higgins got tagged, of course. Mike Evans is off the market. He got his contract with the Bucs. Yep. No point of getting a QB if honestly you don't have anybody to protect him. I agree with that 100%.
That's why I went with Joe Alt, because no matter who you get a quarterback, if they go quarterback and don't get an offensive line and improve it, but they have the cap space, but there's not a lot of offensive linemen out there. You don't want your quarterback to get killed like Mac Jones did.
Exactly. Eddie says the Pats need to draft the O-line. I mean, that's why I said earlier in the show, Dan, I think they learned their lesson with Tom Brady. You got to keep the quarterback upright first. You know what I mean? I think you have to do that.
But if they sign Wilson, you're going to go tackle and guard with your first 2 picks.
You definitely can. Eddie says, did the Pats? Yes, he just actually went to the Dolphins. Juno Smith on a 2-year, 10-year contract, $10 million contract.
That's actually not a bad signing for the Dolphins.
No, it's not. It's a weapon that they needed. So might as well grab him there.
Yeah.
But, Let's talk about the last team here. Eileen's team, the New York Jets. I'm not going to bring it up. What happened in the third play of the season? I don't want to bring that up. But Dan, let's talk about these New York Jets here.
O-line, O-line, O-line.
Let's say it a fourth time. O-line, yes.
Yeah, O-line all day. I think that's no matter who the hell it is. What they have to take one of the tackles at 10-10.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the Penn State tackle at 10 for them.
Fanshaw.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then I went Christian Hayes, guard from UConn.
Okay.
And that's two quality prospects at the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I took Cole Bishop, safety from Utah.
Okay.
I took a pick that you didn't like, Audric Estime at running back.
Get his name out of your mouth, Dan, please. Don't mention his name because there's only one team that I can see him going to. Okay, we're not going to mention that team today.
With Breece Hall. Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver, Southwest Missouri State. Like, I don't know who. Dalvin Hooker, tight end, Colorado State. Edge, Grayson Murphy, and then a defensive lineman for LSU, Jordan Jefferson.
Okay.
But the first two picks, I went O-line. And I think for them, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. Now, today, Dan, I mean, not today, but they got rid of two key players. They got Laken Tomlinson, he's a guard. He got rid of him. CJ, who's my mama, they got rid of his ass to a wide receiver. Yep. They have $27 million in cap space here, of course. Now, the only one, Randall Cobb, do you come him back? I mean, he's coming back with Aaron Rodgers here, best friend. He wanted him over here. Do you give him a short-term deal, 1 year, maybe $5 million, $8 million deal? What do you do with him?
I could draft a wide receiver, can I?
You sure can, because there's a lot on this board. I mean, I like Brian Thomas from LSU.
I'm sorry, but I don't. Cobb is not going to give you much. I don't give a crap if he has rapport with Rodgers. I don't care. That's irrelevant to me.
Agreed.
Like, well, what does Cobb offer? Why? Because Rodgers has played with him. Like, I don't think that's a good enough reason, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they get a wide receiver, not the best one, but they get better than Cobb in free agency or the draft.
Yeah, I'm
getting rid of. I'm not signing Cobb. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they can get rid of him, let him walk. I don't care, friendship, whatever. This is a business here, number one. But I think you can, if Brian Thomas, LSU, that wide receiver who basically had pretty much numbers of Malik Neighbors at LSU, Dan.
Brian Thomas
is
a good player. He's a good player too.
Yeah.
Him and Neighbors are both really good.
Yeah.
Like you have a Keon Coleman. You have Worthy. I don't know if he'd be there at 72, but there are wide receivers there that you could definitely. Even Texas has a Mitchell, and on top of where they have a Adonis Mitchell or something like that, who's also solid.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are options out there for them at wide receiver, and like I said, just address it in the draft.
Yep. And he says Lazard. I don't know if he wants to play. I agree with that one. I can see glimpses of Lazard. A lot of talent, but I don't know. I agree, Eileen. I don't know.
Xavier Worthy, but he won't be there at 72. They're not going to take him at 10.
No, Eddie, I have him going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Hate to say that with another weapon that they need, but they don't need. Xavier Worthy, I think speed kills. I think that's where he goes.
And I agree with Eddie.
It
would be amazing
100%.
Weapons, but is Aaron Rodgers going to stay healthy?
But you got to keep your quarterback upright, number one. O-line.
That's why I think offensive line at 10 is the smartest thing they could do. It could be the Oregon State guy, but I think Fanshaw will be there.
I think so too. I mean, it all keys on 1, 2, and 3. What the Bears own the draft. What they do is going to set the tone for players falling down the line. So they're going to set it.
Yeah.
Who's going to drop? Who's going to stay where they're at? Who's going to move up? Who's going to drop?
Absolutely. And Eileen C says, I don't think Oliver Tucker will be ready opening day, but obviously he's a starter when he's healthy.
Right. Now the other one is they're going to lose the center, most likely. Connor McGovern is starting center. He might be he's a free agent this year. They haven't talked about anything there with him yet either. So that could be another option too, as another O-line need too.
They could take a center if they wanted to.
I think they bring him back. Connor's not going to demand a big paycheck. He's not going to demand that. I think they can pay for that one. I mean, they're sitting at $27 million right now.
Yep. Just need O-line first. That's really their major need. Last year it was both. It was offensive line that had no quarterback whatsoever.
Agree.
For them, let's hope Rodgers stays healthy.
I agree. Now, we talked about, Aaron Rodgers coming back, last year getting injured, of course, setting the tone for the entire season there is a bad downfall. What are your expectations for the Jets next year with a Rodgers coming back? Where, last year was just on the McAfee show. I'm ready to play now. I'm ready to play. I can play if I wanted to. That was all BS.
If Rodgers comes back, they're a playoff team. If he stays healthy and plays consistent, they'll make the playoffs.
Guys, real quick, if you're out there, please, check into us. Let us know how you feel. We have 92 live viewers right now. Please let us know what you feel out there.
Absolutely.
Let us know how you guys feel. 93 out there. It's going up every time we talk about it. Let's get up there, talk about what's going on with your team. Let us know. Let us know if you're out there commenting. Let us know what NFC division you want. Not the NFC East. We're not going to do that. We'll save that last because that is our Dan and our division. Yep. Give us another division that you guys want to hear us. We did the NFC North last week. Give us a division that you guys want us to talk about. We'll let the viewers
NFC
decide.
Division.
Yes, we'll let the viewers decide on an NFC division that you guys want us to do. But Dan, how about I want to do this real quick. I want to go over some free agents so far. I did this little notepad last night.
Yeah.
Some free agents here. You can tell me, where do you think they fall? We're not going to go through every one of them. There's 62 free agents right now, Dan. We're not going to go through all of them. Okay.
No.
The biggest one is the Seahawks just released Jamal Adams. Okay. Base salary, Dan, $17 million a year. Where does he go?
No safety's getting $17 million a year in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where is he gonna go? Who needs a safety? The Patriots do. I don't know who needs a safety, to be honest, but the market is not going to be as big as you think. You got Poyer out there. You have him out there. You have Xavier McKinney out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he'll go, but he ain't getting $17 million a year, and he's older.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no way he's getting that. Not even close to that.
Eileen says, "Imagine he went back to the Jets." Wow.
But I'm looking at teams with a good amount of cap space, so I don't think he's getting 17.
No, I agree. I don't think he's going to get that, man. I mean, when you're released by a team, that cap space right there hits you. I don't think you're getting that demand that you're going to be asking for.
The market's not going to be well. A lot of safeties and running backs too.
Yep. And I'll go through a couple other safeties here. The Broncos just released Justin Simmons as well. He's a $15 million hit. So I mean, Dan, we're talking $17 million for Jamal Adams. We're talking $15 for Justin Simmons here. Both coming off Pro Bowl years, Dan, but not Adams, but $15 million is still a lot of money too for somebody who's just cut in.
It's a ton of money, especially if you're in cap hell. You're gonna have to have cap like the Patriots had, like $80 million. That's why, that's why I see like some teams he ain't going to. He ain't going to the Bills, obviously. He ain't going to a team that doesn't have cap space. He's not gonna come to us. I'd rather get like a Poyer or something else if we're not gonna sign McKinney.
Agreed.
But like I said, the market's not. No way I'm paying $17 million to any safety.
Yeah, Eileen said it would be a new regime for Adams since blank stare. Adam Case is gone. That's true, but would you pay that 15? Even if it's a $15 million tag, I don't see that happening.
No way.
When
that doesn't make any sense.
You have to keep this all world, all universe. Aaron Rodgers upright. I can't see that. You got positions to fill first. I mean, it would be a nice coverage in the defense, but I don't know. Yes, Eddie Poyer got cut. Yes, he did. He got released.
Yeah, Poyer got cut. Mm-hmm. But the Jets don't really need a lot of stuff on defense, a lot of pieces on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So that would not be what I'm trying to improve.
Agreed.
That's not the position I want to improve on the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing, Dan. We talked about safety here. That's why I brought up the safety first. Jamal Adams, we just talked about. Justin Simmons, of course. Eddie Jackson from the Bears got released too. That's a $15 million hit.
That, I think, for the Jets, but the Jets, how much Jets cap space they have?
The Jets have $27 million.
That would be a good signing for them, depending on what it is, but it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the Patriots are definitely a team you can go to because their defense is not bad. It's more their offense, but I think that's another. You have Tre'Davious White. There are definitely some players you didn't expect. Jackson's a good player, but
sure,
he may not get the money he's looking for also.
Right. Now, there's two other safeties out there, too. Let's talk about Quandre Diggs from the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
Both safeties.
Xavier McKinney's out there also.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You have also Kevin Byard with the Eagles. I can't stand that guy. He's worthless to me. He couldn't do anything.
McKinney's probably one of the better ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
But there are definitely options now in safety. Now you have more safeties on the market.
Yeah.
That's going to kind of reset the market a little bit for the position, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's a guy I wanted to talk about. It's very cheap, Dan. I'm talking maybe a $3 million contract. The reason why I bring him up is former Cowboy Keanu Neal went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, signed him, released him within 24 hours. Dan, did you hear about that?
No, I did not hear about that. I wonder why.
Failed physical. Couldn't pass his physical. Out of shape.
I don't really like that, to be honest.
Me either. Well, he's
I don't like a player that just
100%.
lets things go. It's out. You should be in shape all year.
I mean,
Not
365.
football shape, but you should be in top shape, and you should be failing physicals.
Agree. Now, those are the key safeties here. Let's talk about Patriots here. J.C. Jackson, he's a corner. What do you think about him?
I think he's a good player.
Think so? J.C. Jackson? Okay.
I think J.C. Jackson's a solid player.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's pretty good.
I'm just surprised at what the Patriots paid for him to let him go so soon, honestly. That contract that they gave him, $82 million, $16 million, $40 million guaranteed when they brought him over.
So,
Mike Yanu could be a good grab. True. I agree with that one. But let's talk about another guy here, Dan. Let's talk about edge rushers here. As the guy I talked about with the Miami Dolphins here, Imagwa Ogba, edge rusher, $65 million guarantee, $32 million guarantee contract, applies a tag of 16.3. Arguably maybe top 10 in the NFL at his position here. Free agent's going to be released. What do you think about that, dude? Does Miami pay that 4 years, $80 million maybe to bring this guy back, or does he walk away?
He walks, I think. I don't think are they going to be able to afford that?
I don't think they will either. I don't think so.
I think he walks. But
it's kind of scary because Phillips got hurt last year, Dan. They got to do something at that defensive end position. So, pick your poison on that one.
Like that's why you say edge at 21 might make sense for them.
Yeah, I mean, if a Verse is there or someone like that, that's
Verse is there. You have to take him.
That's best to play.
But like I said, like some teams players just can't give that much money. I mean,
Now, here's a name I want to bring up since we're talking about really the Jets and AFC East here. We know the Jets need offensive line help. What about taking a flyer on Charles Leno from the left of the Commanders here, left tackle?
I don't think that's a bad idea. Anything to improve their offensive line makes sense for them.
I agree. He's only really 11.5 is what they're tagging him at.
That's not bad, and if it improves their offensive line, it would make sense. It's probably it's the biggest position they need to address.
I agree. I mean, that's kind of cheap. Then you know what? If you want to build to the draft here, you can think of a free agency. What about Cody Whitehair? He's a left guard. $10 million from the Bears. They released him too.
If he's better than what the Jets have, it would make sense for them. It's for the right number. Anything to improve their offensive line makes sense, I think, for them.
I mean, figure if you take both of those guys, you're asking is 12.5, 11.5. That's $22 million a year. Mm-hmm. Let's just say you get both for a package of $20 million combined. That takes away your left side right there. And then you can use your other teams for your depth rotation. I think that would be a solidified if you want to build to the draft. Even the Patriots, Dan, they could go down that right, grab both of those guys. $20 million there. You still got $70 million on the cap money.
Exactly. You have plenty of cap space. So it would make sense. And Eileen says, I wouldn't mind Jets resigning Bryce Huff.
Okay. The other guy out there, Dan, is, tight ends we won't really talk about a lot. Linebackers, there's really only one linebacker that's mentionable. Eric Kendricks from the Chargers, they released him.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. I mean,
someone will definitely sign him, I think. I can't say who, but I think someone will definitely sign him. He's a good player, and typically a good player will get signed by somebody.
Mm-hmm. And the Jets also have Malik Hall out there, too.
Yeah.
Linebacker as well. So, I mean, the one running back that I want to mention, I think he was good in his heyday, Dan, Melvin Gordon.
He was, but I don't know what he has left.
I agree. I mean, he had a base salary last year of 1.1, Dan. So basically he has found his basement dwelling for the past 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the guys I'm looking at obviously in free agent are the top guys: Henry, Barkley, Eckler, and Brandon and Josh Jacobs.
Let's talk about them. Yeah. I didn't even bring those names up because I know we're going to talk about them. I know being a Giants fan for you, Dan, what's the position here with Barkley? Could he end up on one of these teams? Zeke is gone for the Patriots. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
He might. I mean, the Patriots have a ton of cap space. I don't know if he wants to go there. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Texans for Barkley. I heard someone said the Eagles today. I don't think that's going to happen, but
yeah, I seen the list today, Dan. 4 teams, and the Eagles were one of them. Like, listen, you're not going to pay. Eagles are not going to pay a running back that kind of money for that.
I don't think so. It depends on, and the running back market's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think a running back's getting $16 million. I don't think you're going to see a McCaffrey deal. I think you see 14 at most.
I think so
13,
too.
14.
Yeah, the franchise tag. I don't even think they're going to get a franchise value, Dan. I mean, if
Barkley could probably make more this year on the tag at 14
I think
million.
all the running backs could. I think all the running backs could,
Yeah,
Dan.
any running back can make more on the tag in 1 year than they're going to get per year for a contract.
I'll give them credit. Being a running back, a fan, number one, running backs run through walls every day, Dan. As I talked to Dave last night on our show.
It's a tough position. You get a lot of wear
Exactly.
until you get beat up a lot.
Right. The quarterback is protected by the O-line, of course, and the backs too, of course, tight ends, of course. The O-line is one-on-one with a 5-member team blocking constantly. The running back is 1-on-11, Dan. We see that every week. We know that. But these running backs are smart, Dan. They want that contract where they can feed their family for the rest of their lives. I get that point. I get that.
I get it.
But, Dave told me last night, why, just take the franchise tag. I was like, well, you got to look at it to feed your family. You don't want a 1-year deal. If something happens to me this year, I make $15 million 1 year. I want that 2-year contract guaranteed money where if I get injured this year, I'm guaranteed next year money. I want that money to live my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eddie says he's saying maybe 9-10 million. I think a little more than that.
I think more too.
I'm going to say like at least 12, 13, 12 to 14 in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the guaranteed money you're talking about. Here's one comment. And yes, we did talk about Russell Wilson's about to get cut, and I think the Patriots should sign him.
Well, here's the thing. I like how you mentioned that, Dan. I'll rehash that a little bit. Let's just imagine here. They have all the cap space, number one. Okay, here's my philosophy. They go out and they get 2 offensive linemen here. They go out and they get let's just say even Lake Tomlinson from the Jets. They grabbed him a little bit.
Yep.
Let's say they go out and get a Leno, from the Commanders that was released, free agent-wise. You get him. You bring in Russell Wilson on a cheap-ass deal, Dan. Bring him in, okay? Then you go after a running back like Barkley. You give him that 3-year, $33 million, $11 million a year, 22 guaranteed up front.
And they can afford it easily. It's
easy. And then you still build through the draft with your draft picks, paying $10 million a year for 5 to 6 picks, Dan. They could be set for this year.
That's what I'm saying. Like if they wanted to sign Russell Wilson, they could sign him for $12 million a year, $10 million cheap. Because he's got $80 million of contract paid by the Broncos.
Yeah.
So that's a no-brainer for them. And then you take like what my draft had, Joe Alt. Mm-hmm. You take another offensive lineman in the second round.
That would be pretty nasty. I mean, let's say if you build through free agency, you get 2 offensive linemen in the free agency, and you go out and get Joe Alt there. You go out and get Russell Wilson for pennies on. You think about this, Dan. This is the craziest thing. You go out and let's say it's sit 3, you get Drake May, a future franchise quarterback, which we don't know what he is going to be in the NFL. We don't know. Nobody knows.
Who knows?
But you go out and you get Russell Wilson for basically the same price for 2 to 3 years, Dan. Same price for a Drake May versus a Russell Wilson, who's been in a Super Bowl, Dan, who's been to the NFC championship games. We know what he is. He has tread on his tires left over, Dan. He was in the wrong system with Sean Payton. Didn't use him the right way. Could have used him different. But I take that chance, Dan, because you got that 3 to 5 year window. Who knows if you're bad next year, Dan? You might be in the top 5 again. Yeah,
Eddie says Russell Wilson was the least of his issues. He definitely had a bounce back year.
Right.
And see, that's what
exactly.
you're saying. Yeah. Sean Payton was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And I think, going to the Patriots would be very interesting if he went there. And they have a lot of cap space, and they're at number 3 in the draft.
Well, think about this, Dan. If you're the Patriots sitting there, okay, draft day, hey, Russell, I'll come here for a $10 million contract. We're going to sign you, 2 years, $20 million. You already got $80 million. So basically you're making $50 million a year right now for 2 years. Come on down. What did the Patriots do? They sit there and say, okay, Joe Alt's available, but you know what? We're not going to win this year. We're not ready to win this year. How about we move down to 10 to 12, get another asset pick, and build from there?
You could get a haul at 3. If they sign Russell Wilson, they will trade down.
I mean, just think Atlanta needs a quarterback. They can see like, oh shit, you know what? This is changing the draft here. I want to move up to 3. I'm willing to give this up to get a Drake May.
A bunch of assets, and you fill a bunch.
Exactly.
You sign Wilson, then you could really, your options are really good. Like you could get a haul for that 3 pick.
Agree, 100%. Oh man, yeah, I can see that, but
it makes sense for a lot of teams that have no quarterback.
Agree, 100% with that one. I mean, wow, it's amazing. I mean, we're talking about draft here, but man, I can't wait to get to draft because we always do the live show, but it's like
a month and a half away.
I know, which that's going to be great. We'll do all divisions by the time the draft appears here. So all our talk, we can rehash that and say, damn, we had this guy going here. Well, that was wrong. A lot of times when we talk about a draft, Dan, the first position could mess up your entire draft from all the way down to the 32 spot. You know what I mean?
If you pick the wrong player, you could be screwed.
Dan, it was funny. I bet a lot on DraftKings, and guys, if you listen out there, go to Out of Box Twitter out there. I do give a lock of the day out there. Actually, I'm 6 out of 7 this week, so trying to make you some money out there as well. Can't guarantee it, but we try. But I was looking on somebody on ESPN. I was reading somewhere. Dan, out of 32 spots in the draft on the draft board, you know what the highest pick 1 through 32 is getting them right was?
What?
You know how far it went down from 1 to wherever? You know where it stopped? The highest ever in history?
Where?
On draft boards? 18. One person got 1 to 18 right in the 19th pick. After that, blew his whole draft apart.
Yeah, like you just never know. Some teams are stupid. Some teams will just make a puzzling draft pick. You're like, what are they doing when there's so much better talent there? But some teams want to jump the gun and think they can have instant success or think they're one step away. But sometimes it's good to be wise and make sure your offensive line is so important. So a guy like Joe Alt, like a guy like Fanshawe, like those are picks that could help you down the road.
Agree.
Even if you don't take the quarterback right now.
Agree, 100%. Yeah. I mean, the draft is the key here. So, certain teams like Buffalo has to build to the draft, and they don't have the money, the cap space to do anything. So they're basically looking for that needle in the haystack, not once, but 4 times in this draft to pick. They have to pick the right players, Dan. And, the best thing is they don't need a quarterback, Dan. That's the biggest piece of, a puzzle where this guy on paper is great. We don't know what Caleb Williams is going to be, Dan. We don't know what Drake May is going to be. We don't know what Jane Daniels is going to be. But you got to pick the right person. I mean, in history, I hate we don't like the Eagles as much. Look at them. Justin Jefferson, they could have had him, but Jalen Reagor was on the board. Remember that? Certain players that you look back on and say, "Oh my God, what the hell was I thinking?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Dan, listen, we got to. What do you want to do? Now we want to go agree with Eddie here. Eddie actually came up with our division next week. I think he said, "Where the hell is it here?" Going to scroll back a little bit. I think he said the NFC West. Dan, what do you think about that for next week?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, we'll do the NFC West next week. How about we do that? Let's talk about those. Hey, we've been talking about Seattle here for a while. Let's talk about Seattle, how they release players. The Niners. Let's talk about them next week. So we'll definitely do the NFC West next week. Before we get out of here, how about we do a couple sponsors real quick, Dan?
All right.
How about you talk about some Monkey Cold Coffee?
Monkey Cold Coffee Evolution Flavor Infused Coffee. Use the promo code OTB Sports and then check out monkeycoldcoffee.com and get 10% off your order. They have the newest flavor, honey agave. They also have barrel-aged honey, which can go great with your coffee or whatever. They have T-shirts, mugs, cake, coffee filter, and cold brew maker. So, get your bag of coffee today and use the promo OTB Sports at the checkout for 10% off your order.
Also, guys, listen, if you need a great lawyer out there, reach out to my man, Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123, Attorney Big Al. Motor vehicle accident, slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims, 3 convenient locations throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. First in the Garden State, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensboro Lane. And, of course, in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, PA, 1628, JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, PA, 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. Make sure you reach out to Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123 for any legal advice. If he takes the case, no recovery, no fee. Mention Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. We take your case. It's not a 50%. It's not 45. It's not 40. It's not 35. I'll go a little bit lower, 33 and a third percent. What lawyer gives you 33 and a third percent? Reason why? Out of the Box and Jay Fine, 1-800-HURT-123 are a combined family. My boss, great man, I've known for 30 years, so we came up with a discount. The OTBS Sports discount, 33 and a third percent if we take your case. And once again, no recovery, no fee. So make sure you call 1-800-HURT-123. Well, Dan, another episode, 2 divisions down, Dan. We still have about 5 more to go, brother.
Yep.
So we got the NFC West next week, Dan. Little bit of a spoiler. Maybe what can we talk about for about 2 or 3 minutes here about the next week's division, Dan?
Obviously the Chargers. Very interesting what they're going to do.
New coaching, yeah.
And then you have the Raiders. What are the Raiders going to do? A quarterback, Josh Jacobs is probably not going to be there. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. The Chiefs, I looked up for the add a weapon, especially in the draft. Their defense doesn't need hardly anything.
True.
So,
well, Chris Jones is a free agent too, Dan.
Yeah, he's going to cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, he's gonna be having some brink trucks coming in.
I don't know what their cap space is.
Mm-hmm. We got one last comment. Eileen saying the Jaguars are closing in on a restructure for Brandon Sheriff, a cap number of $24 million. That's a good signing. I mean, he's a great offensive lineman there. He played at Washington as well, so I think he's a solid pick there if they can pick him up. Keep him there.
Yep.
But yeah. All right. So Dan, next week we'll be doing the NFC West next week. Got a lot to talk about. Maybe Russell Wilson can hop in over to the Raiders. Maybe. What do you think about that? Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Absolutely. Maybe.
Who knows? So until next week, guys, we appreciate everybody checking. We are at 100 and what does that say, Dan? 101.
Yeah.
101 viewers checking in. We appreciate all the love out there.
Absolutely. Thanks for everybody for watching.
Dan, really quick, I know you do a show about the Giants. Is that correct?
Yeah. Big Blue Power Hour.
What is that hashtag out there, Dan, so people can follow you on Twitter?
I just made a new.
We will put it on our box thing.
A new Twitter. I should have put it up on the bottom.
I should have said something about it earlier, Dan.
But no, it's Big Blue PH 1925.
Okay, there we go. With underscores in it too, correct?
No.
No,
okay.
Underscore. I will put that up there. Please follow Dan at Big Blue Power Hour. I will link it out there. Please follow him. We're a part of a network here. All for one, all one for all. We're all part of a family here. So I will put that on there. Make sure you follow Out of the Box Sports Entertainment on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Of course, all shows are live. We appreciate everybody checking in. And once again, guys, if you want us to do what we do, we have fun doing what we do. Just talking here, enjoying our time. If you want to do what we do, reach out to myself, reach out to Dan or one of the hosts on Out of the Box here. We'll get you up and running. We never charge you anything. We do it for fun, number one. Everything's paid for. All the overlays are done. So reach out to us. Have a good time. Speak what you want to speak. Enjoy your team. Have fun. So until then, Dan, you ready to get out of here?
Yep.
All right. My name is Paul Spencer. That is Dan Connor. We'll be next week talking the NFC West Division. Until then, have a great weekend and enjoy your week, everyone.
Take care, everybody.